Conker's Bad Fur Day is one wacky game. What was originally designed as a joyful and whimsical platforming game aimed at dumb children eventually ended up as an M-rated experience filled with adult jokes,
Oh no! Not Mr. Big Cock!
extreme raunchiness, pop culture references,
Fuck you, asshole!
and just so much shit.
Yeah, there it is, over there. Big ball of poop. Oh, thanks.
But why did Conker end up like this? Rareware, the developers of Conker's Bad Fur Day, were well known for working with Nintendo back in the day. They would develop a plethora of games, and a lot of these games were platformers starring cute and friendly animals. The Donkey Kong Country games, Donkey Kong 64, Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie are all games that fit this description. It's honestly impressive how many bangers Rareware managed to pump out during the Nintendo 64's lifespan. All the games I just listed are fondly remembered and are still talked about to this day, and for good reason. However, after Rareware showcased what was then known as Conker's Quest at E3 1997, they began getting criticism for making yet another kid-friendly platformer. Rare really took this to heart, essentially saying,
That hurt, you know? And I think that flipped this switch in me where I was like, okay, fuck you, watch this.
Conker's Bad Fur Day starts like many other Nintendo 64 games do, with a cutscene showcasing the N64 logo. Nintendo and Rareware liked to do this a lot back in the day, showcasing their logos while also showing the player a little bit of what they should be expecting from the game they're about to play. Conker's is no different, having Conker rev up a chainsaw and cut the N64 logo in half, even insulting it before taking the Rare logo out of his pocket. This short sequence does an amazing job at showing the player that Conker is not only violent, crude, and prideful, but also a little charming.
Marvelous.
Which perfectly mirrors the game itself. Conker's Bad Fur Day often goes out of its way to try and shock you with its gore, whether that be by forcing you to watch a cow take a shit down a drain, or having you run away from a bloodthirsty bulldog-shark hybrid named Goddamn Brute. This violence feels incredibly forced. It's very clear the game wants to be seen as a gory mess. That's what most of the game's attempts at humor are based around. But the moments I actually found funny were when the dialogue was more tame. Like when Conker convinced a weasel guard that he's actually an elephant.
What? It's alright. That's not a squirrel. He's an elephant. An elephant. You stupid twat.
Conker's Bad Fur Day is filled to the brim with charm. In fact, it would be fair to say that the charm is what carries this game entirely. Just look at the main menu, the Cock and Plucker bar. You'll only be using this menu for about 5 seconds, but this place is filled with neat details, like Banjo's severed head mounted on the wall, and characters you'll be meeting throughout the game, such as Greg the Grim Reaper.
Don't laugh.
When Conker dies for the first time, he'll be met with Greg, who explains to Conker that because he's a squirrel, he has as many lives as he thinks he can get away with. This is something I like a lot about this game. It goes out of its way to integrate game mechanics into the world itself. Like how Greg explains why Conker gets extra lives, and how Professor Von Cripplesback explains why there are chocolate pieces that replenish your health littered around the world.
I have to grab its chocolate, so it's kind of working. That's voodoo. At the window with that.
It's good attention to detail. This game's story is incredibly simple. Conker is spending the night at the Cock and Plucker. He ends up drinking way too much and wakes up at some random farm completely hungover. He needs to get home to his girlfriend Barry, but as you'll learn throughout your playthrough, it's never that simple. From here the game just goes absolutely bonkers, throwing new ideas and mechanics at you left, right, and center. You'll go from platforming to combat to racing to third and first person shooting and more, all in the game's relatively short span. You'll move through locations pretty quickly. One moment you'll be in Ooga Booga making your way through primitive architecture paired with a rock themed club, and the next you'll be exploring Spooky's gothic mansion. meeting Conker's vampire great-great-great-great-great-grandfather who turns Conker into a bat so he can shit on villagers because
Poop is funny.
and so he can feed them to his newfound grandfather. There are a plethora of colorful characters like Count Batula over here packed into this game. You could meet someone as simple as this block fella who needs you to get this
Fat ass bitch.
off his back,
Pronto.
or someone as complex and nuanced as the opera-singing Great Mighty Pooh.
I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you.
Absolutely iconic.
Have some more caviar.
These interesting aspects of this game are amplified perfectly by its soundtrack. The OST for this game jumps between many different genres, just like how the game jumps between different mechanics. Almost every song is a hit too, even the one that uses actual shit sounds. However, the different mechanics this game explores is a different story. Since the game was designed around this abomination of a controller, almost all of the gimmicks this game tries to go for fail miserably. To be fair, some sections actually do a great job at integrating these mechanics, like the racing part. Some cave punks mug Conker, so you enter an intense race against them to get your dough back. The racetrack is fairly short and simple, so after only a few laps you'll feel like you've mastered the place. But these good moments are few and far between. You'll mostly be stuck with the god-awful gun controls this game throws at you in its latter half. Even the basic controls feel clunky. Whenever Conker tries to stop after running, he'll slide a little bit before fully stopping. It's not incredibly noticeable, but it can and will mess you up on certain platforming segments. A level that I think perfectly encapsulates everything right and wrong with Conker's Bad Fur Day is War. It's one of the last levels in the game, and it just gets thrown at you out of nowhere. A newspaper article just appears on screen before you're treated to this cutscene.
That's right. It's war once again. Your country needs you now, boys. We are fighting an enemy like we have never encountered before. They are evil beyond reproach. Where they have come from, I do not know. But we need to send them back to wherever it was they came from. But remember, soldier, your country will be indebted to you.
Wow. Conker must be really passionate about helping the war effort because he immediately begins running on over to the level's entrance. Once inside, the game wastes no time before showing you some crazy shit. Some sleeping soldiers are flying a plane when an evil submarine shoots them down. They crash down right in front of you, blocking a way out. Then, the sergeant from the recruitment commercial comes out of nowhere and is all like,
Dang, boy. He sure is lucky bastards to survive that atrocious atrocity.
he asks Conker to do a mission for him. Clear the way so his men can get out of there.
Pronto.
You do this by pushing these TNT imps over to the plane crash and blowing them up. The paths you need to take are filled with obstacles, and Conker's aforementioned slippiness before stopping is very apparent here. You will grow to hate this idiot head purple imp and his moans. As well as the landmines that will get up and run at you. After completing our task of blowing up the plane wreckage, the sergeant knocks Conker out cold. Then we get my favorite cutscene from this game. Conker slowly wakes up on a landing craft, surrounded by many soldiers. The camera then cuts to a third-person view, revealing Conker's new helmet. Conker dons many different outfits throughout this game's span. Well, okay, these outfits are usually just different types of headwear, but they represent Conker's journey throughout the game. Whether it's a gas mask to save Conker from the absolute stench of Pooh Mountain, a headdress which turns you into a tribe's deity, or a Matrix outfit for the shittiest Matrix reference you'll ever play through. These outfits are iconic, and Conker's army helmet is no different. Conker doesn't seem to understand the situation he's in, asking the soldiers around him what's going on, only to be met with silence. However, to us it's perfectly clear what's happening. A D-Day reference in a video game. A soldier then announces something pretty alarming.
Okay, 30 seconds. Nice knowing you guys.
The valve on the ship's door starts violently spinning, giving you ample time to mentally prepare yourself for what you're about to witness. As soon as the door opens, bullets fly everywhere. killing what you can only assume are your allies like it's nothing. Conker freaks out and climbs out of the boat, landing in some water. He watches a fellow soldier drown and another one get shot, before slowly making his way towards land. The camera bobs in and out of the water, displaying the gruesome scene right before your eyes. Once Conker gets to land, he crawls up the beach, witnessing even more soldiers brutally dying before he goes into shock. You watch in horror as the casualties of war play out right in front of you, and eventually Conker unfreezes, yelling, "Someone get this man an Oscar." This cutscene represents what it would be like to receive 1% of the trauma that this level of the game will cause you. You then run up the beach, dodging the barrage of bullets raining down on you from every angle. Arriving at an entrance, Conker equips himself with a cigar and 2 submachine guns before heading on in. When we're met with this level's main enemies, the Teddies. These stitched together bears were made by Professor Von Krippelspack, and their only purpose in this game is to be stand-ins for, old German soldiers. This level's theme of World War II is perfectly fitting. If you were to tell me that Hitler was the one who designed this level, I would completely believe you. You enter a gunfight with the Teddies, wrangling with the Nintendo 64's classic aiming controls. After killing all the Teddies, a way forward opens, a passage that is covered in laser tripwires. You have to narrowly duck and dodge these lasers, they're incredibly unforgiving, and you will most definitely die to them a few times.
Okay, how does one jump through this?
May God help you if you're playing this game without save states, because you do this all while dealing with additional Teddies that will ambush you at certain points. Usually, you're lowering your health to the point where even one laser mess up will instantly kill you. Moving through the hallway, Conker gets chased by more of those running landmines, barely making it to an elevator.
Surely it can't get any worse than that.
You have no fucking idea. This level is filled with bad design choices like this. Most of it is shooting, but there are also different gameplay styles, like an escort section where you're the one getting escorted. Conker needs to hide behind Private Rodin, as he's fitted with an indestructible titanium laminate vest.
Right. So what does that mean?
It means if somebody shoots me, I don't die.
A part where you control a tank, which is horrendous. You need to blow up these beams holding up a giant turret that will constantly rain down the wrath of Zeus on you. And there's even a boss fight, which is also pretty bad. You get the idea. Gameplay bad, but the presentation is off the charts. This is, at its core, how I feel about Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's undeniable that there are a lot of things wrong with this game's mechanics, but the setting, story, characters, and music make it worth playing. Shortly after Conker's Bad Fur Day came out, Rareware was bought by Microsoft, and proceeded to do whatever the fuck this was for a while. But they also released a remake for Conker's Bad Fur Day titled Conker Live and Reloaded. I haven't played this game, and I'm not sure I plan on doing so anytime soon. After taking a quick look at some of the gameplay, I can confidently say that I just prefer the more colorful style that the original game goes for. There was also a sequel to Conker's Bad Fur Day in the works titled Conker's Other Bad Day. It began development while Nintendo still owned Rare, so the game would have presumably been on the GameCube. But then, after Microsoft came along, development shifted over to the Xbox. Here's a quote from Chris Seaver, the man responsible for Conker's Bad Fur Day, that explains why Conker's Other Bad Day never came out. "I started designing it and we were going to do it. They just wanted it quickly. It was coming to the end of the life cycle of the Xbox, and there was talk of them going, look, can we just shift this over to the 360, which was a year away? I was really against that because I just couldn't face spending another 2 years on a game we'd already spent a year and a half on. So I guess it was probably my fault." The game was caught between gaming generations. Microsoft and Rare ultimately decided that releasing the sequel for the old console, or seriously reworking it for the new one, just wasn't worth it. So that's Conker's Bad Fur Day in all its messy glory. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a good day.